good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you find this. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining the stream, guys. Thanks. Good to see everybody. I see Roger, punctual as always, early even. And Lou, Joe, Harrigan, Victor. Nice. Good to see ya. Ryan, good to see ya. Thanks for coming. Good to see you guys. I promise you I will not bore you. Little janky. Is it a little janky? Mktron. I promise I will not bore you with Cat Story today. I got a comment on Cat Story from the last live stream. I was tuning in to D&D and all this guy's talking about is his cat for like 15 minutes. You, sir, do not know me. Maybe not one of my most shining moments as a live act, if you will. Ooh, I cannot lose this. So what's the good word? What is the good word? Michael, good to see you. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing just fine. I know, you're offended that I can't win. Yeah. Augie. Yes, indeed. You guys are you're baiting me, you guys. I could tell. You guys are trying to talk about my cats. But I will not give in. Hey, I got a new shirt. What do you think? Game Masters Union. I got this at T Public. And at the bottom, you might be able to read it. It says judges, storytellers, and creators. I think it's pretty good. I like it. Caught my eye, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. And I don't have a lot of gamer t-shirts. And I need to get rid of all black t-shirts. It's so prevalent in our hobby. I got to give it to Game Hole Con. I think they have. Do they have black? I think some years at Game Hole Con, a convention here in Madison, Wisconsin, that's in October. I think a lot of their shirts are not black. I think they come in 3 or 4 different colors. The only thing I don't like about the shirts is they're that rough, like thicker cotton. So they last, but if they shrink a little bit, it's just, not. These are very soft. I may actually try to put a design or two up on TeePublic. But these are the soft, thin kind of, I like this t-shirt type. I don't know how long they'll last or what, but we shall see. Anyways. Not your damn internet. Wayne, good to see you. Local 608. Game Master Union Local 608. It would be nice to take this design, which I would really not like to steal. He said not like to steal. That means he would steal it. Whatever. Borrow, beg, model something after it. And then put a local on it, like Local 608, probably by area code. That's what I would do. If I was I would try to find a way where you could buy the shirt and have a local, and then you could fill it in. Local 608, maybe up to 5 numbers or something. Vanilla Coke's back, Blake. I had to take a pit stop last night. The place I usually get mine was out again, most of the week. I could not do a stream without it. So there you have it. It's back. Take inspiration from. Yes, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. For sure. What is going on here? Why is that not showing up? Hold on a second, guys. Oh, that is very strange. Why is that not. I have an idea here. I have an idea. I see what the problem is. I thought I was all good to go, but I have a technical hiccup. And then when I have that technical hiccup, I need to fix that technical hiccup, and sometimes I forget. Phil McClory, good to see you. Matt Stark, hey, no, nothing. I haven't missed anything. Thanks for joining, everybody. Just kind of settling in, if you will. I was just showing off my new shirt. Maybe I could do it from this angle a little bit better for those that haven't seen it. And I can't credit the artist because I'm not quite sure who it is. So. Game Masters Union. It'd be kind of cool to have a great Game Masters Union, right? What? Write up the rules of like, as Game Masters, we demand. I also did get another one. And I picked them up because, one, I don't have a lot of gamer t-shirts. And they had a sale for like $16. Most t-shirts online with any type of design on it, unless it's like I mass produce these and put them in a store. Usually they're $20 or more, even 25. Here. Healer. I like the healer one where it says on the bottom, patch them up and send them back in. So I thought that was pretty good. I think I've seen probably that one somewhere before, but there you go. Yeah, they're pretty good. I would recommend them. TTRPG is where I got them. I don't have a link. I'm not an affiliate. They're not sponsoring the stream or anything, but I thought they were decent shirts and they're comfortable. I don't know. It kind of fits a little weird. I don't know what it is. It might be my body, but anyways, there you go. I thought I'd show them off because whoever made it was a pretty good design. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the question of the day. I had one written on a sticky note. Guess what Sean did with the sticky note? Yeah, I don't know either. I want to kind of, let's see if this works. Well, of course that doesn't work. Okay. As game masters, we demand players cancel a minimum of 48 hours in advance and players bring the snacks. We should do that on our Discord. Like, create a thread. If you haven't joined our Discord, why haven't you? Why? I don't understand. I mean, if you're going to hang out on other crappier sites, like, why not throw Discord into the mix? That's my way of shedding perspective. Like, I think Brett, my former co-host of Gaming and BS, I think he still hangs out on Facebook, but then he only like visits our Discord on certain occasions. That's fine. Like, that's your prerogative. Hang out where you want to hang out. I just find it a little, I got rid of Facebook. I can't stand that platform. And I find myself hovering around Discord much, much more often. At least there you're going to, there's boundaries or borders or walls to the box, if you will. Anyways. But yeah, we should totally write up a contract for Game Masters. And we could have our players sign it or give it to them. Actually, you know what would be cool? I'll tell you what. If you guys are up for it, we model a contract for the Game Masters Union and we put it out. I'll put it out like as a free PDF or pay what you want. And then if it's a pay what you want, we'll donate the proceeds or something to some charity type. We'll pick a charity and say, hey, if you buy this or you chip in money for it, and they can get it in PDF or a print format. So make it look kind of like a decent layout. I don't know what the layout would be. Some contracts are pretty boring. They're not very pretty. Like, they're, but yeah, bylaw, sure. Roger says, you are traveling through the woods with a caravan. It stalls from overgrowth up ahead, and you hunt a troublesome boar. Go looking for some missing children or scout the road ahead. So Roger is referring to Kerrigan's, Roger's, mine, a few others, like 10 other people, play-by-post on Gamers Plane. So there's a caravan master maybe that says, hey, you could do 3 things. We've got 3 things going on. We can't move forward. We need scouts. There's 3 missing people that went and were going to grab some berries, and they're missing. And then what was the last one? The boar. There's a wild boar out there, and we need somebody to take care of that. Which one do you do? Good. I don't know if I want to use that for the question of the day. Let me think. Some of these we've talked about. How about oh, this is a good one. I like this one. This is a good one. What game, RPG specifically, are you most likely to give to others? What RPG game are you most likely to give to others? How about that one? That's a good one, right? Sometimes it's our favorite. Sometimes it might not be our favorite. It might be something that's like rules light, something they can grok. I guess it depends on the person. But we're not putting that person into a bucket. We're not saying like, what would you give a game to a first GM or anything like that. But what RPG would you be most likely to give to someone else? Already going. Already rocking and rolling over here. So, I like it. I love it. M. Catron says, Savage Worlds. Booyah. Booyah, Grandpa. And he continues, core rules, by the way. He specifies. Gabe Dibbing. Boom. Swords and Wizardry. Not always a given, says easiest question ever. Never know. Not going to give Conan. I had a 50-50 shot on which one Gabe might throw out there. Or he could have thrown me a curveball. He could have had a... Why do I get this feeling that Gabe's shelf is Conan, 2D20, and Swords and Wizardry? Ryan West says, 1,000-year-old vampire feels like a game you could give anyone. And I got to say, if you haven't had that, I think I've mentioned it on the stream. If you haven't seen that book, I have it over behind me. It is really a fantastic, like aesthetically pleasing book. I will say that. Very, very well done. Like, talk about somebody who is going to, like, I want my book to look and feel a particular way. And I don't care, like, what it costs. It's pretty fantastic. If you ever see it in a game store, I hope to think that you would be impressed by it, whether it is your type of game or not. It's a journaling solo game. You can look it up on the net. But that's an interesting one. Thanks, Ryan. Harrigan says, a white box fantastic medieval adventure game. Or WBFMAG, if you ever see the acronym, which I would like never remember what it is. Wayne says, not only have I would I give somebody another RPG? I have given multiple copies, 5+ of Fate Accelerated and Dungeon World. Oh, fantastic. Ryan West says, if it's someone I'm trying to get into gaming, probably DCC. Okay, all right. Phil McClory, he says, adults, Mothership. Kids, Dragonbane. Shucky Ducky Quack Quack. Matt Stark, White Box. Not as opposed to Black Box or Red Box. Blake Wright says, Monster of the Week. Too much fun to miss out on if you haven't played it. Reading 8. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. I just picked up 1,000-Year-Old Vampire last night. Can't wait to dig into it. Did you pick it up in physical form? Because if you picked it up in physical form, I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on just the aesthetics, the presentation of the trade dress, the whole shebang of that. And good. I'm in. If you remember, or if you join our Discord, I am interested to find out how it plays. A buddy of mine mentioned it to me. He was playing it and had done it for a long time. I'd never heard of it up until that point. And this was probably at least a couple years ago. He might have gotten it during the pandemic. I'm not sure. And so that was it. Like, it was brought up. He's like, have you tried 1,000-Year Vampire? I'm like, no. That was kind of it. He's like, it's pretty cool. Solo journaling game. I'm like, okay. And then I walked into a game store and was kind of perusing the spines, if you will. And I looked at it and I was like, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I grabbed it. And I was like, whoa, this thing is pretty fantastic. Harrigan continues, the Black Hack is runner-up, but it has an underground aesthetic that might turn people off. Or put some people off, sorry, that I adore, he says. Well, okay. Fair enough. Andy Hall, good to see you, Andy. He says ICRPG. For those of you not familiar with the old acronyms, he means Index Card RPG. It's a personal favorite of a lot of people. Let me rephrase that. It is a personal favorite for a lot of people, but it's also a lot of people have picked it up, like me. It's pretty good, but I haven't run it yet. Lou says, yeah, he puts in there, depends. It depends. Who I'm giving it to, I'd probably make a mixtape of one-pagers and short ones. All right. Let's see. Lou says, I've given Cairn its cheap, light, and low barrier to entry. You can give a whole set with dice to every player in a green group. And he means green group as in probably hasn't played before. What RPG would I give somebody? Probably one that I really like so that they would read it and then I would play it and run it. I don't want to give them a game that I probably wouldn't run or play. Like, yeah, that game's, I can't stand that game. I'll give that to them. Yeah, that makes sense. I would probably say, Blake says, if no one says a Free League game, Sean may table flip and rage quit. Well, that's true. So maybe I need to pick up and bestow upon somebody a Free League game. It's a tricky one because you kind of go off of like, well, do you want them to kind of grok the rules and be kind of simple in the rules, or rules be damned? Like, and if they're fellow role-playing gamers, because I think that's the big one, right? If I gave people that don't role play or don't play RPGs, then it's a different game. If it's us, right, in the chat, that's a different game. So without trying to get into those weeds, although I know some of you have, by the way, you've commented here. I'm going to go with, jeez, I don't know. What games are out there? What games can I pick from? What should I need to look at my shelf. Lou says I've given Merc Borg. Oof, oof, oof. Look at this. I gotta say though, that's a good game that people can look at, like go, ooh, oof. This thing is interesting. I'm leaning towards Delta Green for some reason. And I think the reason why, one, I like the game, and two, I think the rules for anybody are pretty easily grokked. Like, it's percentile. Hey, see those numbers? You got to roll these 2 dice and roll under those 2 numbers. And you just got to read one as the tens and ones as the singles column. There's a little more to it than that. And oh, by the way, we're playing kind of like an X-Files game. I think maybe Delta Green I would go with. I know, shocker. I have a feeling come October when I go to Gamehole Con, I may have to like smooth things over with Free League. Not that I am contractually bound, but I should be, because I am an unofficial shill for the company. And I feel as though some of my, lack of dedication may be showing through in a couple streams where I haven't put them in the forefront. Not like this is doing that, but you know what I'm saying. Ryan West says, I thought Delta Green, but I think Forbidden Lands is a good answer. I think he meant Forbidden Lands. Harrigan continues, I like WBFMAG because it's also $5 physical. Have handed out several and have given 0E Mothership too. Now that I think about it, to Phil, he says. I'm surprised no one has said Call of Cthulhu, Matt says. Yeah. Harrigan says Forbidden Lands is not beginner friendly. In his opinion. I'd go Delta Green. I think it's a middle road. It's not like very tactical. There's not a ton of subsystems, although combat can get a little wonky. Like, how does this work? Okay, no initiative, but then you could dodge. So it's a little, actually, I think if you ran Delta Green and people don't have baggage from other games, I think it could probably flow pretty easily. Some of those things like combat or whatever. I think we only get hung up on. Sometimes I think we get in our own way. Like when we start talking about, oh, I really like this game or I really dislike that game. I think it's because, well, obviously it's personal taste by all means. It's certainly, it's like your opinion, man. But sometimes I wonder how influenced that opinion is by having played other games. Like if you haven't ever played an RPG and you handed anybody any of these games, like what their first thoughts would be. Because some people like the crunchy stuff too. Like if they got Pathfinder First Edition and they like put miniatures on the table and 5-foot squares and a grid, and this is like line of sight, and then this is this. Like if you got a person that grokks that, they're all in. I don't know. I think that's like, I'm like speaking Captain Obvious kind of method. Did you watch Fringe or X-Files? Delta Green is that. Yes, I did. I watched Fringe, I think through like season 2 or 3. I think I gave it up at some point, but it's been some time ago. I couldn't even tell you like the premise of an episode at this point. Same with X-Files though. Well, that's not true. I think X-Files, I could probably think of 1 or 2 episodes that were pretty interesting, but that's old. Somebody online's watching X-Files, like rewatching it, and they were saying how besides like the fashion, like the big suits or the big bulky suits or weird hairdos or something. It holds up really well over time. And, I agree, right? Like, I can't imagine it would go south. So yes, Michael Holland says, WEG Star Wars or easy D6 for new gamers. Hey, Michael, have you looked at Hyperspace D6? Oh God, you're not gonna believe who's here with me, who's climbing my legs. Yeah, he wants snackos. Gotta give him his kitty crack. Or my good Sean Fringe went nuts at the end. Did it really? I will take your word for it. I maybe have to go revisit it and binge it. I don't know, man. I don't binge a lot of shows anymore. Like, my wife runs the TV, okay? So I just kind of sit back and whatever she's got on there. I could put my laptop on my lap. Victor says you really need to know your audience for any particular game. I'd agree. Roger French, back in the day when Savage Worlds Explorers Edition was $10, I handed those out pretty regularly. Yeah, I agree. That's good. Good bargain. I'll be right back. I'm going to feed this guy. Come here, Augie. And we're back. Thanks for being patient. I apologize for my disappearance. Is Savage Worlds crunchy, says Reading Aid. I'll give you Savage Worlds in a nutshell. People can chime in, by the way. Savage Worlds, if you haven't played it, I'm going to do a quick summation. 100-foot overview. It's supposed to be, it's touted as fast, furious, and fun. And I guess it can be. Some will argue that it's not fast. But, whatever. I guess it depends on what you consider fast in RPGs. So, in a nutshell, Savage Worlds is a target number D4 when it's anything missile based. Or D4. Target number 4. The number 4. You have abilities and abilities that are die types. So, you might have a die 6, a die 8 in one ability, a die 6 in another, and a D4 in another. If you're like kind of like got a skill and you don't have anything in it, it's a D4 defaults. And it's at a -2, actually. So when you roll those dice and you get a wild card, a wild die, it's called, not a wild card. That's another thing. But you get a wild die. So you're rolling 2 dice. And if you haven't played Savage Worlds, the thing people like to do is add the dice together. It's like, oh, I roll because I have a D6 in this ability and I have a D6 as a wild die. You roll them. I got a 12. No, you didn't. You got a 6 because you pick the better of the one. So any 4 is a success, typically on a missile type weapon shoot, and any additional 4 over the target number. So if you roll an 8 or a 12, then it's called a raise, and for every raise, it could be, it's like a degree of success. So for every raise, things can get crazier. So you're like, Sean, I don't understand. How can you roll higher on a D6, higher than an 8, right? So if you roll the maximum on the die, so if you have a die 4 and you roll 4, a die 6 and you roll 6, it explodes. So it has exploding dice, and you go until it stops exploding. So in some instances of Savage Worlds, and some people might complain about it, is if you got the big bad and you're the game master and you throw him out there and he or she's big, bad, and tough or whatever it is, and somebody comes along and they roll their trait die and it's a D8 and it explodes, they get an 8. So there's a success with a raise already. And they roll it again and it's another 8. So then it is another raise, 2 more actually. I think they might have limited the amount of raises in the last edition. One of you guys might know. But essentially, with all those raises come extra damage and all this stuff. And literally when you start exploding dice, things can go south very, very quickly. A very swing, like kabosh, kaboom. done. Now, for a player that does that, you're like, yeah! As a game master who just revealed the big bad, and you're like waiting for this big ultimate combat to happen, and your player character, one single player character, came up and slayed the big dragon or whatever it was, it could be like, wah, wah. In Melee, it's a little different. It's based off the other person's parry, I think. So you use playing cards for initiative. So you take playing cards, standard deck of playing cards with the jokers in, and you flip them. The default is to flip them up in front of each player. And so you go in order from highest card to lowest card. And then if you get a joker, you can pick when you go. And you can also get a plus, is it a +2 or +4 on your go? So jokers can be pretty powerful when you get them in the initiative. There's a little bit of, there's 3 levels of bad. There's minions, there's, I can't remember the middle guys, and then there's the wild cards. Right? 3, right? Or is it 2? The wild cards are typically as equal to or better than the player characters. So they also get a wild card where some of the other ones do not when they roll. And in most of the times on Savage Worlds, you are in 3 levels of condition when it's on the table. You're either up, down, or off the board. So if you are up, you're fine. Typically, you have, damage, or what is it? When you take, it's not hit points. You're good. Wounds. If you still have wounds left or available, then you're up. If you are stunned, then you are down. And then if you are then you are out. So it's like, that's like that. There's, if you're on the table and you got miniatures, each one is in that type of stage. So, yeah, Gabe, I've run 1 or 2. Now I got to brush up on the finer minutia, if you will. And there's hindrances in the game. So you can increase your trait dies. So you have like a certain allocation of how you allocate the certain die types to your traits. And you can increase them by taking hindrances. And by default, you usually have 2 hindrances. You can take more, per the GM approval, to increase those. So if you want a higher strength or higher agility, and you want to increase that, you could do that by taking a hindrance. So hindrances are major or minor. If you have a major hindrance, it might be like, my character is blind, which allows you to take like a double bump in a trait. Like, oh, I get like, instead of 4 points, instead of 2 points, I get to increase it by 4. And then minor hindrances might be like, oh, I don't know. Maybe you're a gambleholic or something, right? So hindrances are nice because they're a drawback, and some games don't have drawbacks. Like if you play 5th edition, there aren't really any hindrances. Some people will say, well, I rolled up a Savage Worlds character and they have hindrances, but they don't even really play them, or they don't really come into play. Like my hindrance is, I'm quick-witted. Nah, that's not a good one. What's a hindrance that some people pick that's not really a hindrance or doesn't come into play? I don't know. Like it would be like, I'm an alcoholic as a hindrance in a role-playing game in my character, but yet the alcoholism never comes into play during the game. Like maybe it doesn't penalize them if they don't get, alcohol or something along those lines. So, and so Savage Worlds is generic. I just gave you literally, there's a little bit more to it, obviously. That's just the elevator pitch. But they have a lot of different settings, and a lot of those settings kind of tweak some of, not the core rules necessarily, but they will offer different skills and different types of feats and hindrances based on the type of setting. So they have, cyberpunk, and then many are third party published and and carry this, powered by Savage Worlds logo on them. And then there's some actual house settings that are done by Pinnacle. And Savage Worlds fans they can be a rabid bunch for sure. Like out in Colorado, where some of the folks in the chat are, they've got the Rocky Mountain Savages, and they're just a huge group that just loves Savage Worlds. But like prepping is supposed to be quite a bit easier. There's not a lot of crunch. Like you're not having to add up a lot of different tables and modifiers to your character sheet. So if you have a die type and a wild die, like that's what you roll. And your target number is usually a 4 with the majority of things. And of course that goes up or down, right? So if it's a difficult task, then the game master can say, well, it's a difficult task, so you're at a -2. Deadlands is one. I care too much about my job. Exactly. That's exactly right. Deadlands was a setting I've wanted to play. So it is derived from Deadlands. Deadlands is like the OG. That's where Savage Worlds actually came out of. But it's changed a little bit. So back in the day, the cards for initiative, like, oh, that makes sense now because Deadlands, poker, Wild West, got it. Bennies are also a thing in Savage Worlds. So every player character starts with so many bennies, they're called. They're usually like some kind of token or chip. Like a poker chip might have been used for bennies when it was Deadlands. So the original Deadlands, which there's been bundles, I think, of that have come out. You can get like the whole bundle of old first edition Deadlands. Some people really like that edition because it's changed quite a bit to nowadays. How it's changed, I don't know, but it's definitely a different game. Like there's Yeah, so Harrigan mentions that the setting rules can change the game significantly in terms of healing, one-shotting foes, gritty damage, and lasting wounds. Yeah, for sure. It's not a leveling game either, so that's kind of not necessarily true. So you will get awarded, is it awarded XP? You will get awarded points, and you can use those points, I think, to increase other things or take other things. But there's like literally 3 kind of levels of a character. You're like a novice, I don't remember the middle, and then you're like, or a veteran. So it's not, level 1 through 30. And so that kind of keeps things, you might add another type of feat to your character, but the power creep isn't as dominant in Savage Worlds. Point by advances. Thanks. Is it point by advances? Thanks. Oh, novice, seasoned, veteran, legendary. Thank you, Roger. See, there you go. There you go. Thanks, guys. I knew you guys would come through for me. So sometimes when you create characters, you'll establish like whether you're starting at novice, seasoned, veteran, or legendary. They have supers supplements. So if you want to run a supers games, they have a fantasy companion if you want to run fantasy. So it's like it's a generic system with a lot of different settings. And its origins are from Deadlands, but it's really based on like a pulpy system. It's supposed to be kind of the feel for it. If some Savage Worlds, chat is very gracious. If a Savage Worlds person watches this video after the live screening, they may lose their shit listening to me try to this guy, oh God, he's trying too hard. It's driving me nuts. Savage Worlds is awesome. Oh, it's great. So there you go. It's definitely worth picking up. It's one that's been around for a long time. Suede, Savage Worlds Adventurers Edition is the latest version. They just had a Kickstarter with alternate covers, but I think Suede has been out for, it's been out for 4 or 5 years maybe. Many times it's easy to port old stuff to the newer version. Sometimes they just change what is it when you're stunned? Shaken. Shaken was always, so you're up, down, or off the board. When you are down, you are typically shaken. That is a common condition from a character. So if you're hit and you take damage, you can become shaken. And in order to be, if you're shaken as a player character, you have to remove the shaken condition or you're penalized. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to spend a benefit, a Benny. So there's this weird kind of economy, and you could say, well, I'm not going to spend the Benny. I will continue what I'm doing, but I'll be shaken. I'll take the -2 penalty. And that's fine. It's a choice. Like, you have options. So my point with shaken is sometimes like how shaken is implemented or how it's removed might have changed from edition to edition. But it's, some people like, hey, I'm going to use the old shaken rule. So they don't, from one edition to the next, it doesn't get so crazy. I think they might have streamlined like the chase rules from the last edition to the current one. So anyways, I would highly suggest it. It's a good game. It's got a great following out there, lots of material. And it can be very, like, compared to other games, it may just be what you're looking for if you like something a little bit, like the character sheets are not crazy. So I've run Savage Worlds. Some of the folks in the chat know. As a matter of fact, some of them have been in my game for Forget About It. Forget About It. It's a mobster one-shot by Just Your Imagination Games. You can find it on Drive-Thru RPG. They did a whole Mafia supplement to it in setting. And it was modern day 1969. 5 mobsters are taking an accountant that's in the trunk of their Cadillac way out into the Nevada desert from Las Vegas, basically to get rid of him. So what could possibly happen? So it's kind of a road trip one shot. And literally it's like, if it takes 4 hours to drive there, it's kind of 4 hours for a one shot. And you run into all kinds of things like, well, free flowing. So modern day 1969. Yeah. Well, it's not like fantasy is what I'm saying. Anyways, thanks guys for letting me talk about Savage Worlds. Now, if somebody comes here and watches this live stream, they can get actually some gaming stuff and not a, speech about my cat. That guy's never coming back anyway. Who am I kidding? That's right, Victor. Yeah. I can't remember. So here's the thing. I can't remember who was in what game and how things came to an end. Some were better than others. I got to admit, the one I ran for BSers, like Harrigan was in that game, and a couple others, it did not go well on the virtual tabletop. It just did not. It's a game I could run it at this year's Gamehole Con. It would probably go over a little bit better. You're welcome, Reading Aid. That's what least they could do. So yeah, I would check it out. It's not overly expensive. I think their core rulebook might be $25 maybe. Anyways, there you go. Roger might have been in that. Carl Rodriguez, yep. Edwin, I think. Edwin was in it. Is Stars Without Number any good? How does it compare to Traveler? Holy cow. Yeah. That is, I have played Stars Without Number. I'm not going to go into a whole thing about Stars Without Number. If anybody wants to answer Matt's question, and Matt, I imagine I don't ever know in chat if people are being serious or if they're just like, I'll throw another game in there and have Sean talk about it for another 15 minutes. I don't know. I don't actually know enough about Stars Without Number to like go into any detail. I played a few sessions of it. We got a ship. We had a mortgage out on it, and we were traveling around, and there were different factions. but that's all I remember. My friend Crystal has shown up in the chat on occasion, rarely, but she's a big fan of Stars Without Number, and she actually ran it. And that is not indicative of her game mastering. It was just not a game that I grokked necessarily. It was a pretty decent sized book. You can actually go and get it for free. Matt, I will say this: go over to Drive-Thru, pick it up for free. The only difference with a lot of the Without Number games is you can get the core kind of rules for free, or pay what you want. I think pay what you want, but at least for free. And then the deluxe, like, pay version unlocks. Excuse me. I think in Stars Without Number, it unlocks like vehicles and things like that. So you could get away with running it without probably. I mean, as a game master, I'd probably get the high version. But it's based off of old school. It's not like Traveler old school. I'll say that for sure. To me, in my opinion. Invite to a channel somewhere. If you go to discord.gg/BSlandia, we'll get you an invite to the Discord. BS, like bullshit. And then you can get to the Discord. And then you'll be inundated with welcomes. Welcome! Get them! Hey! Welcome to the Discord. Hey! Who'll greet you with your gaming story? And if that doesn't work, just pick one of these live streams. I think there's a link in the Discord down below. I don't know if these notes are visible right this minute, or you have to wait until I'm done streaming. There are some cool mechanics in Stars Without Number. Like if you're the captain of the ship, you could actually take the role of captain, or it's like, I don't know what they're called, but you can take that. And then what happens is it gives you like the ability to allocate an extra action on the bridge. And you can allocate that extra action to anybody on the bridge. So it's kind of cool in how it facilitates that, right? Like I'm the captain, I'm telling you to do one thing. Well, my action economy is spent, but I'm the captain, so I'm able to tell you to do one more thing, kind of thing. So there's some pretty decent design choices in the game, I will say, that I was like very impressed with. Because sometimes I think some games will just like, here's an array of abilities. Here's your target numbers. This is what it does. But it doesn't like make something unique to facilitate a particular thing, like a type of feel or a particular situation and like that, right? So like if you're a captain, now I feel like a captain because I'm telling you, you can do this and you got this. Arm phasers and you get to go again. So it's a very minor, it's a very one-off thing, but there might be other design choices that are just as good. So yeah, it is a giant book, as Ween says. All right, let's get into some other stuff, shall we? Good talk. Thanks for spurring the conversation. There's Ian World did not have a lot of like news stuff this week, and it was all kind of D&D 5e based WotC stuff, so I'm not going to include it, and it was very limited. So I'm just going to kind of like not bring that stuff up because I think, other people could use some love. It's so funny. I saw a YouTuber who was like, hey, WotC's got this like we got another company, big corporate. You guys know which one I'm talking about. They've got, a huge marketing budget and everybody knows who they are. So I'm going to try to highlight some, independent games and smaller press publishers, And that's what I'm going to try to do. And then literally like 2 episodes later, they're promoting something on D&D. Like, come on. Great game if you play D&D. No knocks on 5e, but you got all the limelight. So, oh man, and I didn't delete some of the ones from last week. That's okay. It's okay. We'll get through this together. And that's not... I hate it when I open it in the app. Booyah. So Roll20 fans, if you are using Roll20 for your VTTT of choice, they just implemented, I have not seen it in action, Dungeon Scrawl. This is put out on Roll20.net's blog. If you're not familiar with Dungeon Scrawl, I thought I've brought it up on stream before, but, that might have been months ago, years ago maybe, decades even. It's pretty cool as a standalone. I have used it. And there is an actual premium. So you can, Dungeon Scrawl, you can just use now. I'll put a link in the chat. It's kind of cool. It's web-based as a standalone tool. And you can literally just hit this button and start scrolling. And it brings up a little bit of an interface where you could pick the different cross hatches and things of that nature. Got some shortcuts that it comes up. But literally, I'm going to just draw this. And then I'm going to draw this. This is literally as easy as it can be. And then there's, of course, a couple things you can click to put the doors on there and everything. And on the premium version of this, I think there's some options where you can, save it as a PDF, save it in high resolution, And I think it runs about $7. I thought Beer Leaguer was nice enough to say, hey, I've checked out the premium edition, and he posted it in our Discord. So I think it was $7 a month. Now somebody got wind and said, hey, this would be cool in Roll20. So now they've partnered, and now you can use it within Roll20. The highlights include seamless map exports to Roll20 games. So you might be able to just go from Dungeon Scrawl and then export it directly into Roll20, and probably has give this access to your Dungeon Scrawl library. And you go, okay, and then you can have that available. There's a shared library of images and scenes/maps, cloud storage for maps, and then so much more to come. So they're still adding to it. So if you're using Roll20 and you need to throw something down and you don't have it prepared, you could literally just draw it out using Dungeon Scrawl, is my kind of understanding. So if you want to check that out, that's pretty cool. I don't use Roll20 as much anymore, but Dungeon Scrawl is top notch. Even the free version, you could do this. Right now I could probably, worst case scenario, I do, screenshot of that, maybe export it, but it might be smaller. There's also, you could erase, you could change the color on the left-hand side, which I think is cut off, but I'm not sure why. Here it is. You guys can see it. So on the left-hand side, you could see the different border types that you can use, right? And I can dynamically change those by just clicking on them. Whoops. And then I just lose my spot. What? I don't know. Where was I? Where was I? You can change the scale. Texture. Oh, see, the texture is a premium feature. So there you go. Check it out. All right. Next up. I'm gonna go with this one maybe. So Rob Wieland, I know Rob. He usually writes for Forbes for the RPGs, but he also writes for EN World. And he reviewed Highlander, which is by the folks at, oh God, what is their name? Evil Genius, yeah. So if you know Evil Genius, they're the ones that do the modern 5e. right? So D20 3.5, D20 modern. Fast forward, I don't know, 12 years, D&D 5e. Evil Genius Games doing 5e modern. And they have all these properties that they've gotten, the rights to deal with, like Escape from New York, Highlander, and a few others. And so this is the Highlander 1. It's compatible with the Everyday Heroes system. So that's the system that they're referring to. I like me some Highlander. I don't know how it is in an RPG. I'm sure some people have tried to run it as an RPG. But anyways, if you're not familiar with Highlander, check out the original movie. It's really good. I like it. So here's an article on, what did he say? Something like, it's a good action. Yeah, it's a kind of magic. Let's see. The adventure feels like a proper Highlander story set in the modern era with a flashback to brush with history and Joan of Arc. I was hoping for more mechanical support for flashbacks, given how common the idea has become in modern designs. There's a feat that allows characters to show off a skill that they learn off a skill they learned in a flashback. But that's really it. Still, the adventure shows the Highlander story structure doesn't really need player-triggered flashbacks for the epic set pieces those flashbacks often contain. So if you want to know more about it, it sounds like, some good, some wish they would have done it like this way. Oh, and Harrigan's got them. That's right. Harrigan's mod, so he can post links. He's his first execution as like moderator. All right, so there's Highlander. Has anybody picked up any Everyday Heroes at all? Any of them? Is there no love for Evil Genius's game? Do you moderate in there all the time? Well, that's good. Thanks, buddy. I don't know. I probably don't see it. That's the thing. Nuking spammers. Boom! He doesn't even know. Reading Aid says at Gen Con this year, Glass Cannon did a fun playthrough of the Escape from the New York module. Eric Bona from Paizo ran it. Ah, very cool. Well, thanks, Harrigan, for all your hard work, man. I appreciate it. It intrigues me. It intrigues me. I don't know. Bundle. Hostile bundle. Not to be confused with Hostel OSTEL, where you stay in Europe. See you, Blake. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. Cheers. Vanilla Coke. Cheers. So, anybody play Hostel? From April 2022, Deep Space Cepheus Engine tabletop horror role-playing. So for the starter collection, which is the hostile, if you will, rules and setting, gun locker, Cepheus handouts, and hostile referee screen for like $10. And then the bonus collection of 5 more titles. Probably run you like maybe $20 total. So it's like the Hostile bundle resurrected from April 2022. So the bundle was resurrected from April. I don't know how old this game is. Is a friendly offer of the tabletop science fiction role-playing game of deep space alien horror Hostile from Zozer Games, based on the Cepheus engine rules, closely modeled on classic Traveler. So there you go. Throw that one into the mix. Reading aid. If you want to check out like Stars and Traveler and Hostile, this would be the way to go just to check it out and see. Because if it's based, like if it's got some things modeled after classic Traveler, might be worth checking out. The starter collection's retail value is $48. You can get it for $10. And then if you pay more than $21, you get the whole thing. But it's probably, it says Androids and Clones and Hostile. That's what Synthetics is, the book. Goes to Direct Relief, just so you know, the charity of choice. Here's some details. So if you're interested, if Traveler has caught your attention and you're looking for something that might be very Traveler-ish with maybe a horror bend, then this might be worth picking up. There you go. That's all I have to say about that. I have not played this. What are they raised? $5,000. That's awesome. 250 bundles. I've picked up everything for EDH so far, but I haven't played it. Well, there you go. And I don't know what the Cepheus rules engine is like. Ryan West, Alien plus Traveler. What's not to love? For sure. Michael says, sorry, not true. I played Highlander at Gen Con. Completely forgot. It must have been must have been a very impactful, awesome experience for you, Michael. for it to make such an impact on you. Where you forgot. I played it. It was good. All right. All righty. And he's mentioned EDH Everyday Heroes is what he's talking about. Let's see. Hey, how about, is a Kickstarter that gets delivered 12 years later? Mike, do you give him a smiley face on Kickstarter? How do you feel about this Kickstarter now? Smiley face. Cepheus is just an evolved form of Traveler. In it? I don't know. Sure, maybe. Got to be close, right? If it's modeled after it. A review of the Far West RPG. Who is waiting the 12 years for this? Anybody? I mean, did they say it was going to take 12 years? Oh, touche, Ryan West. I mean, they could have been very, very upfront with it and said, hey, look, we're going to do this RPG and it's going to take us 12 years. Hey, we told you, Brett. We told you, Brett, it was going to take 12 years. Don't sell your print copy. Plus Brett's chops. He's not here. Arc Dream takes as long as they can. Detwiller, like every podcast I ever hear him on, he always says that. Like, we're not going to rush stuff out. I think even on, the only reason they might put deadlines and target dates on Kickstarter is because they might have to. Otherwise, they do no promises of release dates at all. Reading it. That's like, they're going to do it when it's right and done. Although I would say perfect is the enemy of good. But the Arc Dream, I mean, I'm waiting on that big Kickstarter. I'm all in on that big Delta Green Kickstarter. So, yeah. Anyways, Far West. Who got this? Nobody? Come on. Hey. Hey. Do you know that you got in on this? Do you remember getting in on this? Maybe you need to go to Kickstarter and go to this project and see if you backed it. Because I'll tell you what, if I did, I wouldn't remember it after 12 years. Actually, you never forget those, do you? I got a zine that's never been fulfilled yet. They've raised like $5,000 on a zine. One of the guys from Drink Spin Run, Adam. I'll call him out. I don't care. Get that shit done, Adam. Get that, or refund the money. But it's Kickstarter. It doesn't guarantee. It's not a pre-order. Yeah. Here. I will say this. It's not being very positive in the RPG hobby, but I'll tell you this. If you do a Kickstarter and you raise like $5,000 and you never complete it, and probably haven't put an update out since like it ended. Don't go to work for like an RPG type company that solicits like, hey, in order to like go there to work for as a salesperson, and then hit up a bunch of podcasts and say, hey, we got this product. I'm working for this company. Hope you're doing well. And then have me go, oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Like awkward. Just a tip, life tip. Like, yeah, I probably won't send you guys, like I probably won't reach out to you guys to be on your podcast if I just stiffed you. Just saying. Bitter much? I don't know. I just say, hey, look, I got stuff and this is what happened and I'm never going to put it out. So apologies. So yeah, Far West. 278 pages, including many pages that list that many Kickstarter backers. Yeah, probably a lot. However, RPG is long because it does a lot. Characters have attributes and skills which are added together. The attributes do not use the D&D set, but are still familiar. Reflexes, strength, wits, toughness, presence, knack, kung fu. So it's wuxia, like West, right? They did put in an example in here, like imagine Indiana Jones shooting the martial artist. And it's cool if you're the cowboy, I guess, but not cool if you're the wuxia martial artist. There's edges and flaws. It's almost as if Far West spent these last 12 years ferreting away all the system trends and adding them to the developing game. Ooh, except that sounds messy, and I don't get a sense of that here. Well, that's good. I do believe you need to know the rules to play, though, and this isn't a light TTRPG. Well, that's good. So they go into some details about this thing if you want to know more about it and even get it. It's out on drive-thru. So congratulations on them for finishing their game. Let's just do that, shall we? It's a good overall overview of Far West. This would be in the better late than never category, maybe. Zing. Zinger. All right. Here be halflings.itch.io. So if you are interested, hey, Hobbsy. Edges and flaws are not new. I think, yeah, I don't know. Oberon's Onomasticon. So the derivations of names of monsters, places, and peoples as they appear in the world's greatest role-playing game. So have you ever wondered if the words dwarf and duergar are related? Etymologically. Ugh. What if I told you that the words Oberon and elf shared a common ancestor? Or that the name of the Bargura came about due to a spelling error? Within these pages, you will find the etymologies and derivations. Am I saying that right? I know it's the elaboration of derived derivations of the names of monsters. English is hard. I need Gabe. Gabe, can you help me out? Places and people from D&D 5th edition that will fascinate and surprise you. Discover the linguistic connections and origins of familiar and obscure names. Yeah, there you go. Name your own price. So check it out. No, Harrigan, they're cutting edge. Says the guy from Swords and Wizardry. And Conan, of course. What about the Kickstarter for Fist? We went over Fist. Like, I ran that over a long time ago. Where you been, Ty? It's probably one you didn't show up. I will bring it up because you mentioned it and you're here. Good to see it, Ty. And he's on the far west coast, so he's still in the wee hours in the morning in his time frame. So, did I put the link for this in the chat? Maybe no, I did. Okay, fantastic. We'll get there. Remind me if I don't get there. So that one was it. So we'll go there right now. How about that? I remember bringing up Fist. I might have even brought it up in our Discord. And by the way, Ty, can you stop posting stuff that are promotions not in promotions? Dude, Discord's not hard, man. All right, let's see. This has been a public service announcement. Fist Kickstarter RPG. All right. It's got 13 days to go. It's got 86 grand kicked in on a 20K goal. So it is. Hey, it's funded, just in case you wanted to know. I like the cover. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You belong to a legendary rogue mercenary unit called Fist. You're a soldier of fortune who doesn't fit into modern society. It's the story of my life. You're a disposable gun for hire, caught up in the death and destruction of pointless proxy wars and oppressive establishments. You may also be someone who can turn into a ghost or control bees with your mind. Yeah, lost me at turn into a ghost. I can't, man. I'm kind of... I can't... okay, I'm a normal guy who likes to shoot stuff up. I don't want to turn into a ghost. I have hang-ups. I have baggage. I think it goes to hey, I want to play this game and I want to be super awesome, fabulous, fabutastic, strange, kooky thing. It fits this game, that's this game. But I'm talking game as in Sean's brain. Cool game has all kinds of crazy in the PC is not for everyone. That's the thing. Like that, maybe a one shot. I'm sure I would play this. I would have a ball. It's not my jam. It's PBTA that plays like OSR. Okay. Minimum prep, nice. Maximum action, cool. I get it. Okay. Every character feels unique after just a few minutes of setup, and every session creates a story that's never been told before. In the tabletop role-playing game, paranormal secrets of the Cold War are your bread and butter, and you fight for your life to make ends meet alongside others like you, stopping disastrous science experiments, infiltrating occult compounds. I'm in. Neutralizing eldritch horrors. I'm in. These things are all in a day's work for Fist Mercenary. Players are typically outnumbered, easily killed. I'm in. And disliked or hunted by most sources of authority. I'm in. You don't have tons of money and gadgets backing you up, your wits and a few tools. I'm in. Use the modular trait system to construct unique and fully equipped characters in seconds. Play as a telekinetic alien. I'm out. Mutant sniper. I'm out. Cyborg ninja. Nope. It's just not me. Cool game. Fantastic. Looks cool. I love the premise of it. I don't know. The game is mechanically descended from John Harper's World of Dungeons, Ben Milton's Maze Rats, and most of all from the Traveler-inspired Off-Worlders by Chris P. Wolfe and Olivia Goulin. What's the Ultra Edition? I like the look. I like the black and white. I like the art. I like the layout. I like the premise. I don't want to be weird. Sean doesn't like the chocolate in his peanut butter. Kinda. Like Shadowrun I've played. It's okay. But if I play Cyberpunk, I'd rather not have trolls and dwarves and elves and dragons. But Sean, you play Delta Green, you're like against the conspiracy and there's Eldritch Horror. Yeah. It's like an alternate reality. But you're still just a person. That's me. That's my take. So Cyberpunk, not Shadowrun. Yeah, pretty much. Like I wanted to get into pickpocket presses like Steve's rendition, right? He's going to do that. I forgot what it's called. Low Life. So if you haven't checked it out, go over and check it out. If you like Shadowrun, then that's the thing. If you got an RPG and it's like if you like Shadowrun, that's the problem. I think, right? Like if you say I'm going to put out a role-playing game and it's going to be like Shadowrun, only different, then you got to have the people that like Shadowrun move over to your game. Because the people that don't like Shadowrun, I don't know, will they like your game? I don't know. I would almost market it as like, if you don't like Shadowrun, then you're going to love this game. Trolls are people too, said Mr. Hobbs, as he's eating breakfast in his Illinois mansion. At his villa in Illinois. Illinois. I don't know. So that's my take. I think I'm sure it's a great game. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I would play it. But typically not my cup of tea. It's the same hang up I have with like, hey, let's run D&D. I want to play a Dragonborn Goliath, Sorcerer, Eldritch, Warrior, Paladin. And I'm going to smash everything in the world. It's like, but I'm probably a hypocrite too. I'm sure there's a game behind me that's just like, well, you play this game. Why are you not like, what's the problem with that game? Like, I don't know. How come you don't have a problem with that game? I don't know. I'm in my car like always. Dude, are you doing Random Screed? Do Random Screed and put me on there. Like live, just like tape it over. Mr. Hobbs, Random Screed. I mean, there's obviously a market for this. There's a lot of people. 1,000 backers. That's awesome. They've made some money. Great. And they've created. That's interesting. They have never backed anybody. First created, never backed. Wow. I am impressed. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody that's never backed a Kickstarter actually like fund as well. Because some people will look at that and go, they didn't support anybody else's venture. Now, I will say this in defense of them. It could be where if they have multiple creators, those individual creators may have backed tons of projects. It may just be that the Claymore company entity that's putting on this Kickstarter has not backed it. That's why just simply judging it by, oh, they haven't backed anybody. Nope. 0. Forget about it. Is a little quick draw. Thought it was another green that you would like it. Delta, and I do like. I like the premise. What I would probably do, which may just ruin the game, because I'm guessing, hypothetically, without watching the video, reading people's previews, I'm gonna guess that it's PBTA, so it has playbooks, and each playbook is a certain archetype, and those archetypes, like the telekinetic guy, the ghost guy, the alien guy, right? And then they have certain traits for their particular playbook, and that's what that is. And so if you remove those, then you're all going to be playing like the human boring hunter guy, and you're all the same. And that's probably not the strength of the game. Salty. I got opinions. It doesn't mean that, and they could be wrong. Oh, like you got opinions. Like even if they're wrong, opinions. I think it's a great looking game. Layout, it probably plays awesome. It's just not my jam. Just like D&D is not Ty's jam, right? Ty, am I right? Right? Okay. There you go. They're funded. They're awesome. Good for them. Print news. Did I put in the link to the Kickstarter for those? I think they should be. I think I did. Okay. Good. Check out their Kickstarter. Me, I like being weird, so I get being the weird. Yeah. And I would too. If somebody's like at GameholeCon and they busted this out and like, hey, we're going to play Fist, or it's Fist, right? Yeah, Fist. I'd be all right. I'm not opposed to it. I just probably am not going to buy it and run it all the time. Print news. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Sea of Claws. Man. How many books are out for Warhammer Fantasy? Does anybody have all of them? Where's my diehard Warhammers? Epic Encounters for 5e. Handbook of Overland Expeditions Around the Campfire. Excuse me. A handbook for overland expeditions, hunting and trapping. It looks like that's something I would give Brett. Like, right? The trade dress on this is pretty classic. Fat Goblin Games. Fantasy RPGs. Doesn't list any system, so. Downtime activity zines with the PCs facing the challenges and difficulties of sleeping in the rough and meeting other basic needs, either by working together or dividing the workload amongst each other. It's got a very... Who is that artist that does all the wilderness art? It screams Brett, right, Victor? I thought WFRP is dead. Matt, come on, buddy. Cubicle 7's cranking out Warhammer Fantasy. Is this just a fantasy? Am I living a fantasy life? Things have opened up for you, Matt. Ty says I have big issues with D&D, so no, I do not ever play D&D again. Yeah, see? So, I mean, I do like the premise of the Fist, for sure. No question. DCC, baby. Reference booklet, a must-have if you're a DCC person. Dice, all of the dice. Softcover booklet, sets of 14 dice. The softcover booklet, I don't know if they just revamped it or reprinted it, because not a lot of rules have changed from DCC at all that I know of. So maybe verbiage and some newer printing. But it is, if you're playing DCC, you got to have that booklet. It is fantastic and well worth $10. All the charts are in there. Oh, it has some new cover art by Doug Kovacs and illustrations by Stefan Poeg. And then the dice that you need. Werewolf Apocalypse 5th edition by Renegade Game Studios. Soul Mist. Every time you get this game, you have to say it like that. Because if you're old like me, you know the reference. They changed the layout of the booklet. Oh, you got it, Wayne? Soul Mist. Darklands, a dark source book for Soul Mist. Soul Mist, map of Faera. GM screen, like all the things. System is 5e. Journey from Darkness to Light is a dark fantasy world. PCs lead the charge in the world of Faera against the forces of the Dark Saints who hide in the shadows beyond the Dark Lands. The struggle is for the very soul spark of every living creature. Includes 5 new races, each with a unique ability known as Faera's Gift, such as the Lumen, who can appear outside of their own timeline by sacrificing their own time. Ooh, cool. If you're like 5e. There you go. Setting. Booyah. Crowdfunding news. Let's do it. Yep, I have it. Came out on DCC Day a few weeks ago. Very nice. Victor, what are you laughing at? What are you laughing at, Victor? Are you laughing at Soul Mist? You also have to play it in like 70s bell bottoms. Magnus Archives role-playing game, crowdfunding, Monty Cook Games on BackerKit, probably crushing it. 15,000 backers. think it's funded? On backer kit, almost 1.5 million. 8,000 backers, 6 days left. Harrigan's all over this. Harrigan told me that he is going to start backing everything Cypher System. If it has Cypher System listed and it's from Monty Cook Games, he is an insta-buy. That's what he told me, people. I know he plays it down on the Discord and in the chat, but that's what I've heard. I don't know. Rumor has it. Rumor has it. Rumor has it. I have not listened to this podcast. Anybody else listen to it? That's what it's based on, just as an FYI. Don't make me a hater. It's just not for me. It's great. The podcast? Okay, I'll have to check it out. It's probably a podcast that I can't listen to. It's like the reason Sean can't listen to like fiction audiobooks. I just lose track of the story. I drift off. Single advicey self-help marketing, sales, book things, no problem. Don't have to keep track of multiple dialogue. It's weird. It's a weird thing. It's me. It's a me thing for sure. So I might give this a try and see what it's about. But anybody get in on this? I did not put a link to the stuff. No singing Adele. At least you know who it is, Hobbsy. Ryan West, Sean, it'd feed you some great Delta Green ideas. Would it? Okay, good to know. Thanks, Ryan. I'll double check it. Harrigan says no Cypher. I briefly listened to Magnus Archives. No Cypher yet. So you're saying there's a chance, Harrigan. Different kind of existential horror. Okay. All right. Good job on a campaign, successful campaign. This kind of creates an interesting. It doesn't create an interesting dynamic, but it does make me think. Like there's always the, do you create your own IP, right? Or do you lean on IP that's out there? And what are the trade-offs? It's obviously not for every company, but somebody's got to think like, dude, and this is $100,000 goal. Monty Cook was not lowballing. He wasn't what we call sandbagging. Like, oh, put $1,000 down and we're going to probably fund it like $50K. $100,000 is no joke for a bottom dollar. And I imagine that there's some rights involved, right? See ya. Hey, good to see you, Reading Aid. Thank you so much. I hope you can join the Discord. Hope you can make it back. And oh, by the way, since some of you are still here and not going to bounce, make sure you hit that like button. Do me a favor before everybody takes off. Should have probably said that a little bit earlier. Hit the like button, hit the dislike button. I'd say leave a comment, but I don't know if comments are live on a live stream yet. On the way out, when you're exiting the door, there's a thumb up right at the threshold. Just hit that sucker. Thank you. Anyways, people have got, some publishers. I mean, look at Modifius is all over this. Free League is not immune to this, right? I know somebody that says, I like Free League. They got a lot of IP stuff. I'm not down on the IP stuff. I don't want to play The Walking Dead, the role-playing game. Like, that's a TV show that I've enjoyed. I don't want to, peanut butter in the chocolate. Totally get it. But, I mean, if you're going to do $1.5 million on a Kickstarter, there's probably some stuff out there that could be turned into a role-playing game. And a lot is being turned into role-playing games. It's surprising, like, I don't know. Who is the biggest company, the biggest IP that is in role-playing games? I think I have an idea. Like, what is the biggest IP in role-playing games? Just what are your thoughts? I think everybody's just going to be like this. What's up, Chris? Magnus Archive is a pretty excellent anthology horror podcast with a meta plot. Then again, I'm only at the tail of season 2. Nice. Aiming on it. Okay, cool. Ty says, if you lean on an IP, do the IP justice and do not do the IP wrong. Do not have stuff in it because you're being lazy. Okay, Star Wars. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. I would guess Lord of the Rings. Interesting. Now, I'm not talking about like, because I think some, like especially Gabe's comment, I'm talking like the IP that is the most known outside of RPGs and makes the most amount of money outside of RPGs, or has made the most amount of money in RPGs, and is also a role-playing game. Chris, I was going to say the same thing. Marvel is there. I would almost say, I'm thinking cost for IP. Nah, maybe. I don't know what the cost is. But I would say the biggest ones for sure, and they're all owned by Disney, right? Marvel, Star Wars. What else? Maybe Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings is because it's just been around forever. But I don't think it's at the level of Star Wars or Marvel. Star Trek? Maybe. But the only company is it the only company that did their own IP as a role-playing game? Marvel? And that's just, what, 2 months ago? Like, is everybody else, like, we are a role-playing game company, so we can do it justice. We know design, right? We've worked with other licensed properties, but, like, and you know why? It's because it's not worth those big companies to do them. I'm surprised Marvel, I mean, it was like, what, Matt Forbeck, his son, maybe one other person on, I don't know. I'm not trying to downplay, but I don't think it was like a team of 20 on the RPG. Maybe. Matt's a beast. He can write like nobody's business, like quantity-wise, word count. And he knows the Marvel universe. Written a lot of books, been in the RPG hobby for a while. But I'm trying to think of who has, like, LucasArts did not put out Star Wars role-playing game, ever. Mkatron, hate to go, but it's time. Give thumbs up before you leave, Matt. See ya. Star Wars because of the merchandise? Maybe. I mean, they did buy it for $4 billion. So it's just kind of interesting. And frankly, if it's not your forte in your wheelhouse, then why not? Like, we're not going to do it. That happens all the time. Like, we don't do this, so we outsource it. And then it's kind of we license it. Gabe says A24 put out the Green Knight RPG. Yeah. I think it was the British surrealist spy show, The Prisoner. There was a GURPS book. Interesting. Wendy's put out their RPG. Did they? Wendy's did it in-house, so to speak. And I mean in-house by, like, they could have hired a person, freelancer, done it, but put it out through their interesting. So as I kind of run stream of conscious around this, it has to do with the Monty Cook $1.5 million Kickstarter backer kit, whatever, crowdfunding project, 1.5 million, 8,000 backers for a podcast. First of all, yay for podcasts. Like, holy cow. Like, being huge in podcast land is no small feat. especially if you're not bringing your audience with you. Like if you're creating a podcast and you're like even a science, like a fiction podcast, and to get it at the levels of like, what's that crime drama they did? And that really put crime podcasts on the frickin' map. Does Ahsoka make you want to play a Star Wars game? I haven't watched any of that. They did it in House of Selling the Rights. Well, selling the rights, licensing, I guess, yeah. So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting where it's like there's always the dilemma of like how much control of you, like this, Magnus. I mean, they could put out this role-playing game. It could be very successful. And then 5 years, move the license. Like we're going to have somebody else do it. Night Vale Podcast is doing a game, I think. I think you're right, Ty. I think we brought it up here on stream that there was talks of that becoming a role-playing game as well. And here's the deal with those podcasts. You have some really good writers out there. It costs nothing to put, it doesn't cost anything, but it's, that's the creator economy nowadays. You could become a YouTuber. You can put out your own role-playing game. You could become a podcaster, and the podcast is just an audio format. You can do anything with it. It allows people to come out of nowhere that back in the day would have never had a shot. So as a creator, like the folks behind Magnus, it would be interesting to see how these things come to fruition, and probably maybe not so interesting. Maybe they're just kind of boring, like, hey, we do role-playing games. We really like Magnus. We would like to do one. Would you be interested in talking? Yes, we would. Okay, great. Here's what we do. This is how we would look like, or what it would look like as an agreement. And we would put it up on BackerKit, and we think we can get X amount of funding. And what do you think? We will give you certain, like, if you haven't had a license and put out a license to do stuff for your property, this is how it breaks down usually in the role-playing world. Okay, that's fantastic. Sounds good. We'll get you, assets. Super. I don't know. It's pretty cool. It's like pretty cool. Still waiting for can something dethrone the big cheese? Could be. Who knows? That's it. That's it for crowdfunding. No? Am I in print? I'm in print. Oops. Crowdfunding. Let's go to print crowdfunding here. All right. Magnus. Heron World. Hey, where's Hoos? Somebody wake him up. Heron World. Kingdom of Azadmir from Columbia Games. Source book, $49. $10,000 goals funded at $63K. Woot. Heron World. It's each system neutral, but perfect for GMs that want a heavily detailed campaign setting, one boasting numerous locations within a single city or region, as well as the names of those populate the dwellings, businesses, and dungeons. Well, there you go. And as I scroll through crowdfunding, if you have backed any of these, let me know. Like, put it in the chat. I'm interested. I have not so far. My crowdfunding. I just got done with Moria, and what was the other one? Not Rob's. Although I did kick in for it, I didn't get product. Monsters, Rules 2.7, Crystal Caves Challenge Solo from Ken St. Andre. And Stephen Crompton. Troll Godfather Press. Core rulebooks, $15 for PDFs. These rules. 8K. Listen to this goal. $8,888. That's the goal. What am I missing? What's the inside joke of that? 15K raised, so it's funded. There's an inside joke. What's up with the 4 8s? Anybody? Let me know. I feel like I'm on the outside of an inside joke. Wilder Feast. You are what you eat. Tabletop RPG of monstrous cuisine. Interesting. Original system, core book, euros, 50 euros. In this TTRPG, you play monster hunters who are also chefs. Using manga/anime proportioned kitchen utensils, you hunt monsters in order to eat them. Oh. When you consume a monster, you gain powers going from a human D8 to a monstrous D20 for all tests. There's a mutation that causes creatures to turn into kaiju-like horrors that have to be stopped. With cartoony artwork, the project is an interesting mix of fighting and food. Using an original system, you'll hunt, fight, and eat monsters, taking their powers as you work to save the world, one meal at a time. Well funded, 20k euros at 125. Wow. By Horrible Guild. Good for them. Magnus is building on the success of Old Gods. Yeah. Gaming and BS stage show. Would I see that? Yeah. Let me know, Ty. Maybe I'll put it together. Michael Holland, Magnus Files podcast is produced by Rusty Quill, same team of who do Old Gods of Appalachia. Not sure if someone mentioned that. Monty Cook is doing both. Nice, good to know. Wasn't aware. Ty says, I think Gaming and BS stage show needs to do a few cons first before breaking out that as a solo stage show. Probably. I would agree with that. Wayne Peacock, probably not a PETA funding level. Hey-o, PETA. PETA. Hey, PETA. PETA. So, if you're a vegetarian, do you buy this game? Lines and Veils. Yes, I don't want to eat monsters, and I don't think we should kill them. Fair. Too funny. Didn't see that one. 4 omnivores or better. All right, next one. Deck of Encounters and the Deck of Loot. For 5th edition. $25 PDF versions. You know, put 5e stamp on it. $10,000 goal. Funded at $86K. Welcome to Slaughterville. Year 0 engine. I am now intrigued. Mr. Hobbs says there's a backstory about this in Tunnels and Trolls. The 8888. Yeah. Gabe, you know anything about that? William Thorpe, good to see you. You could have plant monsters. True. For sure. But would you kill them? Can a vegan roleplay eating meat? Yeah, I don't know. I'm overthinking it. Sean, it's a game. Don't be ridiculous. You're not going to kill an orc in real. Yeah, like if could you kill an orc? I don't know. Maybe not. The role-playing game, Slaughterville RPG. Dive into the world of fun and horror from Laughing Rogue. Year 0 engine. Most popular pledge is $80 for PDF and print versions of the rulebook, cards, and more. Based on the Slaughterville board game. I don't know the board game. This RPG puts your gaming table in a dark town full of monsters and horror. Coming from a third-party publisher, this is a relaunch of the crowdfunding campaign with a more obtainable goal. So they tried it prior and didn't make it. Uses Free League Publishing's Year 0 engine as your table faces nightmares and works to solve mysteries. If you're looking for a modern horror RPG that uses the same system as Alien, this might be a good fit. $400 goal. $400. Look, I'm not going to do this thing unless I hit $400. Come on. They made it to 3. Oof. Anybody else? I have to look up Laughing Rogue and see what else they did. Hypercorpse, $20.99. Cyberpunk Superheroes for the one RPG. Mike Myler. WOIN RPG source book. Do you need WOIN or wine to play? Per Mike Myler, Hypercore 2099 requires the wine rulebook. Am I saying that right? And Mike writes for Ian World. Should know that. Okay. $500 goal, funded at $1,000. Fresh layout, book and brings superheroes and cyberpunk together. Since many aren't familiar with WOIN, W-I-N, I want to call out that the system does a great job supporting those genre. After all, it was the engine for Ian Publishing's Judge Dredd and Worlds of 2000 AD role-playing game. Larry, I saw this somewhere. Larry Elmore. If you like Larry's art, this is the last one I heard he's doing. The complete Elmore. If you got the original, like the first one, volume 1 and 2 maybe. I don't know if they were volume 1 and 2 together, but this is the third one. $125. Third and final volume of my career retrospectives, the complete Elmore 3, highlights of a path well traveled. 300 images. Unpublished pieces, including artwork that was not in volumes 1 or 2. $300K. Titans Rising, Scion, from Onyx Path. 105 bones. 50K of a 30K goal. If you're a Scion fan. I think that is it. There you go. There you go. There you go. That's it. Thanks for joining me this week. There's the crowdfunding and print news for at least the sources that I get them from. I'm sure there's tons more out there. I wish there was other sites. Not that we don't appreciate some of the things from Geek Native and EN World, but you know, it would be nice to get some of the indie. If you guys know an indie source of news, you know, I'd be more than happy to tap that every week and, you know, find out what's going on in some other circles in the RPG hobby for sure. So Cyborg just played that second session, well, first full session, which is cool, and lost 2 characters out of 4. My guy was unscathed. Now in defense of the other players, they each one of their characters had like 1 hit point, so it didn't take much. Stay in the van. Good fun. Tuesday, session 2, session 2, Star Trek role-playing game. Got to bone up on some of my rules. That'll be fun. Come across a ship stuck in a time-space. What the hell? Cape's like climbing the walls as I stutter all this stuff. An anomaly we've come into contact with. So that's fun. Good stuff. The play-by-posts continue. Harrigan's a machine, as well as some of the players in that game of Knave. I'm scouting ahead for a long caravan of people going back to the leader's homeland. I like it. My Kids on Bikes game, I don't know what's going on with that. I have to tap Harrigan. Is this typical? I know some games fizzle on play-by-post. I know players fizzle. Sure, we've talked about that during the video that's on this channel if you're interested in learning more about play-by-post. But it's weird because there's nobody that's posted. Nobody's hey, hi. And I'm the one that's usually lagging behind. So I'm kind of I was the last post? Strange. I am the player, Ty. Gabe is the GM, one of the GMs. from Analytic Dice. Gabe from Analytic Dice. You may have heard the podcast. I play a communications officer. So that's fun. I have gotten word from my buddy Jeff. Some of you know him, I should say. He had hit me up, a buddy of mine, who I consider him brothers. He's moving back home. He moved to Hawaii, and now he's moving back home. And so he's like, hey, I want to get a game together for when he comes back. My buddy Joe. So we all grew up together. So I think Joe was playing remote for a while, but with the 5-hour time difference is a little tough when you play at like 10 in the morning and he's got to get up at like 5. So he's moving back, local. Jeff wants to put a game together. So I said, hey, Jeff, you want to, tell me what you're thinking. Like one shot? No, not one shot. Okay, all right. So what else are you thinking? Like who are the players? He's like, I don't know, it's kind of like throwing some players around. I said, okay, all right. What else? So, well, Castles and Crusades or OSE maybe, something along those lines. So out of the group, I can imagine who might end up playing that. We'll see. Or end up running it. I might have to bone up on OSE or Castles and Crusades. And then what am I going to run? Like, I don't know. Do I run published? Do I run, start coming up with something more original? I got a little time. My buddy's not back until like October. But that's going to be here soon enough. So we'll see. That game's going to be probably like a monthly game, an all-day Saturday, like 10 o'clock, probably after the stream. Like cutting the stream to like 90 minutes, bolting off to play and run once. One Saturday a month will be like that. So I'm not running anything at the moment. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Castles and Crusades would lend to like the setting of Forbidden Lands in the Ravenlands. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if they want more exploratory, if they want diplomatic intrigue. I got to kind of poke a little bit. I'm sure Jeff will be like, yes. Do you want this, or this? Yes. Like, okay, fantastic. So we'll see. Do I get a campaign setting and read through that? I don't know. So I may be session 0. Well, and I think I'm going to need to do a little bit of session 0 ahead of time because like Joe is just going to show up and play. He won't care about any of that stuff. He's player, come in. Yeah, man, I just want to play. Like he won't care. But it will help me prep. You could have us Kibitz help prep your game session, which I may crowdsource this, Wayne, for sure. Okay, at Starforge. It's got to be fantasy. It's going to be a fantasy game. Like, I could run a one-shot for Halloween maybe, but I also told him that, like, Halloween's right around the corner. And my buddy's coming back, right? Like, he's coming back, and then, like, he comes back in the middle of October, and then, like, he starts his job the end of October, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Remember, Jeff wants to be Batman. Yeah, I know. Well, he's a paladin. Like, he's got to be a paladin. In fantasy, it ranges, but he is hip. Like, if he wants to play any type of class, like, if he goes old school, he's paladin. In D&D's, Eldritch Knight, I want to cast spells and, I want to be Elric and all kinds of shit, so. Ironsworn? No, classic. He's got to go classic. Ty. He's old school. Like, he's getting into old school brain. Like, he's popped open AD&D and OSE and Osric and, obviously OSE is BX. And then Castles and Crusades. He wants the AD&D feel. But I'm sure he looked at Osric and AD&D was like, I don't want to play AD&D, but I want the feel. Swords and Wizardry is not, I understand, like, that's not far off for me, but I don't know if he would. I think I could get him to play that if I wanted to, Gabe. But those are the two that he listed verbatim. Like, I know he's got the core books for Castles and Crusades. He is hip on it. He likes the art, which is a big deal for him. I also don't know how deep or far he went into the rabbit hole, because we can all go pretty deep and far. So he may have just went like, I know he bought OSE. I know he has CNC. And I don't know like how he tripped up on CNC. I don't know if he just was like old school games that are like a D&D Enter. And then I told him OSE because I said, we were talking about it face to face, having a beer. And I was talking about OSR. So OSE, he went out and bought like that day. And then I did mention Swords and Wizardry, and I sent him Finch's primer. But somewhere in the mix, he got CNC and was like, this is great. I really like this, So Castles and Crusades sounds right for him, and it's something I want to experience sometime too. Yeah. So, to me, like OSE, Castles and Crusades, Labyrinth Lord, Swords and Wizardry, they all have their kind of uniqueness a little bit, right? But they're not so, they're not, hey, this one's PBTA, this one's Blades in the Dark, hey, this one's 5th edition based, and then this one is AD&D Descending Armor Class, blah, 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 right? They're pretty much kind of all in the relatively same house, so to speak. They're all fantasy, obviously. Even Blades in the Dark to me is Victorian era, like Peaky Blinders all day long. S&W is not for him, agreed. And I don't know, like I also think that if he wanted 5th edition and he wanted the build, like Pathfinder 2nd edition is out there. 5th edition's out there. Tales of the Valiant is out there. Insert fantasy 5e game here. Like any of those would be sellable. But I think part of his hang up with how things are in D&D now is like he wants to get away from. However, I know that, it's, if I pitched him something that wasn't level based, he might not be interested. Savage Worlds, I don't, it's not old. That's not old school to him, which I agree. It's not. So it's gonna be coming from that, and it's like I could go new OSR, like, well, what about Knave, Black Hack, even ICRPG, something along those lines. Nah, I think the appeal for him and CNC not only is the game, but just like if you read the website and some of the kind of overall philosophy and thinking of what the company wants to provide as a product to some of the people that are playing it, and also some of the feedback that has come from the players and the type of players that it tracks. All of that is kind of playing a role in what he's kind of considering. Some of the other ones might be just, I don't know. If he's trying to go away from D&D, I'm not sure CNC is far enough removed for that. I'm somewhat in that camp, Matt, for sure. That has not escaped me. We'll see. Shadow Dark? I don't know. I haven't played Shadow Dark. I don't know Shadow Dark. Well, and I told him, I said, like, hey, there's a lot. There is a lot. Like, where do you go? Where do you stop? Hey, there's a Shadow Dark, And I think with him, if it was like, well, if there's a mention of, hey, this is like a derivative of 5th edition, we just made it OSR, then I think he's out. That's why I say when you market your product and you're like, you're comparing it to something else, you're already setting prejudices into place. So I don't know if it's always the wisest. It works both ways, right? Somebody go, oh, it's like 5th edition, but stripped down. Oh, that's me. I kind of like 5th edition, but I wish it was stripped down. That's the game for me. So I know it works both ways. So just as much as it turns off, it can turn on. So I don't know. And I also don't know if it's the system. I mean, I'm sure it is, but I think it's like a tone and feel piece. So for me to run, this is going to be kind of a very interesting take, because that's why I got to do session 0 and ask him. And frankly, my buddy Joe, he could give two shits. He's going to show up. He'll play 5th edition Pathfinder, OSR, like OSE. He doesn't care. He like goes with the flow. Just an easygoing guy. He's not, doesn't get caught up with all this stuff that I get online to talk about every Saturday, right? He doesn't care. But with Jeff, I think it's whipping out some of the old AD&D modules and reading some of the plot lines and just like, today they're going to go through the tomb of the reptile god, right? And it may be just that approach that I take. Like, I'll just start pulling up AD&D modules, kind of tweaking them. If a goblin in the AD&D game can be ported over to C&C and there isn't any wackiness. But I also have to like, well, okay, what is balance? Like, do I care about balance in C&C? I don't know. I said earlier, you have to know your audience. There you go, Victor. So I think what he's looking for is something. He wants to have fun and probably get back to the olden days of what it meant to adventure. DCC is also not escaped my brain. And I did run one shot of DCC with Jeff and 2 others. And it was literally like, after I got it, I want to run DCC funnel. And I think it might have been Sailors. But I don't think he even remembers the game. And frankly, I don't think that's him. He wants to play Paladin. Like, I think he actually told me that. The game has to have a Paladin class. So if I got OSE and it didn't have Paladin at its core book, which I think it does, then he would get the advanced book so he could play the Paladin. It'll be fine. Yeah, for sure. So I think it's just like the spirit of the old school thing without, maybe you're not starting out as the hero and, having some fragility at the beginning and, maybe sprinkling a little tropey trope here and there, part of me is like trying to maybe restrict, like, I don't want a fully baked campaign. I can't put him in Eberron. That's not what Eberron is. Is it something that's intriguing and fun? Sure. But C&C and Eberron? No, it's like not going to work. The Lost Lands from Frog God Games, I think Laramie uses that. It's a beast of a campaign setting. I could pull a region out. I guess if I had to pick something like Greyhawk, or something along those lines, maybe getting much more into heraldry and some of that, get into where like dukes and duchesses and some of the very, very typical medieval lingo that came through D&D, and not even lingo, but that societal structure that, might be something that he's looking for. Because I don't know if I don't get that feel from Forgotten Realms or some of the more recent settings, right? He wants nostalgia. I really get that when I look at Marvel Phaser Rip. Yeah. Does Jeff know opera and The Rock? What are you talking about, Ty? Space opera? Jeff used to own Space Opera. Never played it. So that's what I'll be looking at soon. What's up, Eric? We're about to sign off, man. Thanks for showing up. Give me a like before you take off. Good to see you, buddy. So we'll see what that comes out to be. I'm sure it's going to be Castles and Crusades. I just have to figure out what to run them. And frankly, I don't have a problem doing homebrew. I think with ChatGPT, yes, I will use it. I don't care. Like I'll throw some things in there, get some prompts going, get some feedback, nail down some other prompts, get some maybe decent story arcs. Maybe not be this grandiose thing, but very factional based. I'd love to run Forbidden Lands for them, but I just don't think that's the game. I could probably do kind of the setting like, hey, if you want more exploration, I could facilitate that and kind of, okay, there's a blood mist and now it's risen and you've been cooped up and that's why you're going out to explore and you encounter weird things. But I don't know how much like urban they want and things of that nature. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, even the One Ring, like, it's a fantastic game. Started reading it. Phil McClory's like pounding away at that. I think he's like 20 sessions into his campaign with his group, and they just love it. And I think I think if I'm not mistaken, Phil, I don't know if he's around. I think he was in here earlier, but and I think some of his players were like pretty like rooted in 5th edition. So they really appreciate it. And it's so strange because they make like, it's during this age, right before the Lord of the Rings, in between when, Bilbo gets the ring, that kind of space, or 20 years before, like the 20 years, it's 20, right? 80 years between that go by, or something along those lines. You're going to run into some of those heroes. So it is like, for folks that are like, whoa, like, I don't want to run into Darth Vader. I'm playing Star Wars, man. That, like, the One Ring, like, they had no shame, and they tell you that. So if it's like, I don't want that to ruin my impression of the books and the tales that I've read and set aside as kind of treasure pieces in my mind, then don't play that game, or let the lore master know, like, I'll play this game, just don't do that. Like, I don't care if we adventure over here and we go to the different lands, but don't start bringing people in from the movies and the books into my game. Might be a little difficult, but whatever. Like, you'll run it. Like, I think Phil's group ran into Gandalf. Like, so I was thinking that, but it's not what he's looking for. I don't think so. So we'll see. Maybe try playing Terranoth as a setting, maybe. I don't know. I know of it. I don't know much about it. I know it's Genesis derived and Edge and Fantasy Flight Games, but does Paladin equal Captain America? Well, that depends. I would say yes. Captain America is modern day Paladin, even future Paladin. So we'll see. I'm not overly concerned with it, but I do got to get a foothold on that at some point. So I'm prepared. Maybe I'll Cult of the Reptile got it out. They'll never know. I just got to make some notes. Caverna, you are late. Give me a like before we sign off. So let's... Hey, Caverna's here. Let's all wrap her up. Yeah, we're a little over, actually. Usually I wrap it up like 10 minutes ago, but I got it going on what I got to do for Jeff and the gang. So we'll see. It'll be fun regardless. I just love playing with those guys, and some of the mishaps that we've had, I got to put behind me. I just got to... The stuff that I think that kind of irked me before, I just got to kind of let go. I got to let go. I've had a bit of an epiphany this week. So some of that stuff where it kind of killed the group. And was on me. I could have ran that group through Ravenloft. I could have massaged things over. And then I pivoted to Star Wars, and then that fell apart. Like, it was all on me. It's tough to forget all that, though. Yeah, it is. It is. But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah. What is it, like, life's too short to drink cheap beer kind of mentality? Like, there's bigger things out there. I think I got to get over those little things that are like, but we need checks like that every once in a while. Like, really, this is like, and it doesn't happen until we don't kind of reflect on that unless something impactful hits us. And I've had that happen this week. And it's like, I got to stop sweating the small stuff. And some would say, but Sean, it's maybe not small to you. And that's true. But I have to put things, it's perspective is what it comes down to. I have to put things in perspective and go, this is not the hill to die on. So watch Ahsoka. Okay. I'll have to do it before I cancel Disney, because I'm going to try to cancel that. It's not, the ROI on Disney is just not there for me. A little break does a party good. Yeah, for sure. So anyways, I want to thank everybody mentioned above here in the list. They've supported me financially. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Stream here every Saturday. I'll be here next week, 8 a.m. Thank you for showing up. Remember, be a positive force in the tabletop RPG. I got to say that to myself just to remind me. And then create, move, and learn. I got to get an email out for BSRCon 3. Maybe it'll just be create, learn, move. And the whole thing behind that was kind of like, I kind of wanted to make those three things. I don't know if I brought it up. I kind of wanted to make those three things kind of a mantra other than the be a positive force. But, create, right? It kind of goes with the hobby. Learn is also part of the hobby, but it's also like as a person, we keep growing and as we learn, like learning through growth. And then moving is just kind of getting like move. Like, I don't want to get into the fitness thing, but moving in any capacity is helpful. And moving can also mean trying other things, right? Like that could also be synonymous with moving. Move to this, move to that, but just move. Be active in some capacity, even if it's like, so it's kind of more of it's almost like a mind, body, health thing. Trifecta. That's where it's coming from. So there you go. You have the story. So I'll let you go. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. I don't know what I'd do without you guys. Have a good one. Spend time with those that you appreciate. Get some gaming, creativity in. And we'll talk to you next week. See ya.